The Boston Celtics are back in the spotlight, and training camp is already giving us a glimpse of the identity this team wants to build for the upcoming season. One thing's clear from the jump. Joe Mazzulla is changing the playbook, and he's doing it with purpose. The most striking shift? Pacing. Forget the Celtics you've seen in recent years. This new version is aiming to be the fastest team in the entire NBA. It's not just a tweak. It's a complete overhaul in tempo, mindset, and execution. And it all starts with who isn't on the court right now. Jason Tatum, the heart and soul of the squad, is sidelined for the moment, but that hasn't stopped him from hovering around the team like a lion pacing its cage. In one photo from the Aeroback Center, Jaylen Brown is mid-jumper, and if you look closely, there's Tatum in the background, watching from the weight room. You can tell he's itching to get back into the action. His presence, even off the court, speaks volumes about the tone this team is setting. Focused, driven, and hungry for something more. With Tatum temporarily out, the responsibility falls heavily on Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and newcomer Anthony Simons to set the tone early. And with a younger, more athletic core being emphasized, Boston is embracing a style of play that directly contrasts their previous identity. Last season, the Celtics ranked 29th in the league in possessions per game. That's near the bottom. They averaged fewer than 100 possessions per game, which is a problem in a league that's clearly moving in the opposite direction. Mazzulla and his staff are fully aware of that. They're not just paying attention to league trends. They're actively trying to jump ahead of them. From what players and coaches have said during media day and early practices, this Celtics team isn't just trying to play fast. They're trying to be the fastest. That means pushing off missed shots, pushing off made shots, and never letting defenses get set. It doesn't matter who grabs the rebound. Everyone is empowered to run, to initiate offense, and to keep the tempo relentless. You hear it in the voices of the players. Peyton Pritchard, who's expected to play a much bigger role this year, made it clear. This team needs to adapt. He said the Celtics don't have the same personnel as in past seasons, and that playing faster isn't just a stylistic choice. It's a strategic advantage. For players like him, Jaylen, and Derek White, pushing in transition gives them the edge to beat defenses before they're ready, to create chaos before the opposing coach can even call out a scheme. And it makes sense. Last year's Celtics were incredibly effective in the half-court because they had high IQ veterans like Horford, Tatum, Holiday, and Porzingis who could pick apart defenses slowly and methodically. But that version of the team is gone, or at the very least evolving. With more youth and less polished basketball skill, Mazzulla is leaning into conditioning, speed, and energy. He wants to outwork teams, not just outplay them. That's why this season's approach feels more like something you'd hear from a high school coach rather than a pro. Run them out of the gym. Get in better shape. Grind them down. You may not have the most talented roster anymore, but you can be the most relentless. Still, the plan isn't to be reckless. The Celtics aren't just chucking up quick shots for the sake of it. Execution still matters. There's a difference between playing fast and playing sloppy. Anthony Simons, the newest offensive weapon in this group, also spoke about the importance of balance. He likes the tempo, the freedom, but understands that within that pace, there's structure. He mentioned setting early screens, reading defenses on the fly, and using movement to create better looks, not just launching threes in transition. For a player like Simons, who's known more for his scoring than his defense, this adjustment might be what elevates him to the next tier in his career. It's not just the offensive side that's changing either. Joe Mazzulla made it a point to say that pace isn't just an offensive concept. It applies defensively too. He wants to create pace by forcing opposing offenses into quicker decisions, into mistakes, into rush possessions. That's where athleticism and energy come into play. It's about swarming the ball, closing out hard, switching with aggression. It's about making teams uncomfortable from the moment the ball crosses half court. One of the most interesting strategies being discussed is a possible 5-in, 5-out substitution pattern, essentially rotating in full lines of players the way hockey teams do. Jordan Walsh brought this up in an interview, saying that Mazzulla is encouraging short, all-out bursts of energy followed by quick substitutions to keep legs fresh. In theory, it allows for sustained pressure without burning players out by the fourth quarter. This might not be a permanent system, but as the season starts and roles are still being evaluated, it's a bold way to experiment. With a roster full of guys trying to prove themselves like Baylor Shyman or Hugo Gonzalez, these rotation ideas give them a chance to show what they can bring to a high-energy system. All of this only works if the buy-in is real, and early signs say it is. Practices have been intense. Sam Cassell, a veteran of the league for over 3 decades, said this is the hardest start to training camp he's ever seen. That says something. The Celtics might not have the most stacked roster anymore, but they're grinding. They're pushing each other. They're turning conditioning into a weapon. And that could be the difference between being just another playoff team and becoming a legitimate title contender. This new system also places a spotlight on effort, especially on the defensive end, where guys like Anthony Simons have historically struggled. Simons admitted that in the past, his defense was more about effort, or the lack of it, than ability. That's a red flag for most teams. But Mazzulla is trying to turn that into a strength. He's been in constant communication with Simons, pushing him, encouraging him, drilling him on positioning and awareness. Simons said that in just a few weeks, he's learned more about defense than he has in years elsewhere in the league. That's wild to hear at the NBA level. No one teaching you how to defend. No wonder there's so many one-dimensional guards floating around. For Simons, this is about more than just helping the team. It's about earning his next contract. Scoring guards who don't defend are becoming obsolete. The market is shrinking. If he wants to stay in Boston or land a bigger deal elsewhere, he needs to become a true two-way player. And this season is his audition. Mazzulla knows it. The front office knows it. Even Simons knows it. That defensive tempo begins with activity. Hands up, feet moving, switches without hesitation. It means anticipating the next pass, collapsing on drives, denying off-ball movement, and recovering without a moment's hesitation. Mazzulla wants his players to dictate the pace of the game, not just react to it. That mindset is particularly crucial for younger players or those looking to secure rotation spots. The message is clear. If you want minutes, defend like your job depends on it, because it does. And that brings us right back to Anthony Simons, one of the biggest question marks on this roster. Offensively, no one doubts what he brings. He can shoot, he can drive, he can run pick and rolls. But defensively, the reputation has followed him for years. Someone who doesn't consistently give effort, who could be targeted in switches, who sometimes looks lost off the ball. What's shocking is that Simons himself admits it. He's been open about the fact that his defense hasn't been a priority in the past. Not because he couldn't do it, but because he didn't choose to. That level of honesty is rare, but it also puts him under a microscope. This season, effort isn't optional. With the Celtics pushing for a system built around energy, speed, and constant pressure, every possession matters. Simons has been working directly with the coaching staff to fix those gaps. According to him, for the first time in his career, someone is really drilling defensive fundamentals, like reading passing lanes, body positioning, angles, and timing. It's not glamorous stuff, but it's what separates players who stay in the league from those who fade into journeyman status. And if you take a deep dive into the numbers, the concerns aren't just talk. In 2022, advanced defensive metrics place Simons near the very bottom of the league. He graded out as one of the worst defenders in the NBA across multiple categories. That's a huge liability on a team that's trying to be elite. But the upside is that even a slight improvement could make a huge difference. And if he truly buys into this system, if he becomes even an average defender, his value on the court skyrockets. Especially in a league where spacing, switching, and perimeter defense determine who plays in the closing minutes of playoff games. But Simons isn't alone in needing to prove something. This entire Celtics team is entering a transitional phase. The days of relying on veterans to organize the floor and carry the load are shifting. Al Horford is 39. Drew Holiday is in his mid-30s. Kristaps Porzingis, for all his size and skill, has a body that simply cannot handle sprinting up and down the court for long stretches. That's why this younger group is so important. They're not just depth, they're the fuel that's going to keep this engine running for 82 games. And that's where Mazzulla's experimental hockey-style rotations start to make even more sense. If you're asking for non-stop hustle, for guys to sprint back on defense and crash the offensive glass on every play, you can't expect them to play 10 or 12 straight minutes. Fatigue becomes the enemy of execution. So what's the solution? Shorter bursts, hard sprints, then a fresh 5 comes in. Rinse and repeat. Jordan Walsh's comments about the 5-in, 5-out system reflect how serious the coaching staff is about this concept. It's not a gimmick. It's a method to find out which players can really impact the game at a high tempo. It also gives fringe guys a chance to show they belong. In this environment, hustle is rewarded just as much as shot making. The goal isn't to find the 10 best scorers. It's to find the 10 most effective competitors in this system. That competition is heating up early. Training camp practices have already set a different tone. Veteran assistant coach Sam Castle, who's seen nearly everything in his time as a player and a coach, said that this is the hardest training camp start he's ever witnessed. That kind of statement doesn't come lightly. It tells you the intensity level is sky high. And it tells you the Celtics aren't coasting into the season expecting things to just fall into place. They're preparing like they have something to prove, because they do. Last season ended in disappointment. That lingering taste is still in the locker room. Players know that being good in the regular season isn't enough. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals, they've been close to the mountaintop, but not close enough. So this season, there's no more waiting until April to turn it on. The urgency has to be there from day one. And that urgency is being built in practices that push the limits physically and mentally. Still, all of this will only matter if execution follows effort. Pushing the pace is great in theory, but it can fall apart quickly if players lose focus. That's why Mazzulla is making structure a key part of this shift. Even within the chaos of transition basketball, the Celtics want defined actions. Early screens, proper spacing, second chance movement. It's not just about taking the first shot available. It's about getting the best shot as fast as possible. There's also a layer of adaptability that's being built into this new philosophy. The Celtics understand that not every game can be played at breakneck speed. There will be nights when opponents slow things down, when transition opportunities are limited, when a playoff-like pace settles in. In those moments, Boston still needs to execute in the half court. That's where the experience of players like Brown and White comes in. They're the bridge between the old Celtics identity and the new one. They know how to grind out possessions when needed, but now they're being asked to lead a track meet on most nights too. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the basketball world, whispers are swirling that NIKOLA JOKIĆ, the two-time NBA MVP and perennial All-Star, could be swapping the Mile High City for Beantown. Rumors emerged late last night suggesting that the Denver Nuggets superstar might be signing with the Boston Celtics, igniting frenzied speculation across social media and sports talk shows alike. Sources close to the situation say that preliminary talks between JOKIC's camp and the Celtics front office have been encouraging, hinting at the possibility of a blockbuster deal that could reshape the balance of power in the Eastern Conference. Boston fans are reportedly buzzing with anticipation, dreaming of a lineup where JOKIC's uncanny court vision and scoring prowess complement the likes of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. The prospect alone is enough to send shivers down the spines of rival franchises. While no official announcement has been made, insiders claim that the Nuggets are bracing for difficult negotiations. Denver has built its identity around JOKIC, who has transformed from a late second-round pick into one of the most dominant and versatile big men in the league. Letting him go would mark a seismic shift in the franchise's trajectory, but some speculate that the lure of a new challenge, paired with Boston's championship pedigree, might just be irresistible to the Serbian superstar. The rumor mill is running wild with potential scenarios. Could Boston be willing to trade draft picks, young talents, or even restructure existing contracts to make room for JOKIC's astronomical salary? Could this be the start of a new Celtics dynasty? Analysts are divided, but one thing is certain. The mere suggestion of Jokic in a green jersey has reignited excitement in a city that lives and breathes basketball. For now, the league watches with bated breath as whispers of this improbable but tantalizing move continue to grow louder. Whether this story ends with a confirmed signing or remains a tantalizing what-if, one fact is undeniable. The idea of NIKOLA Jokic calling Boston home is the kind of buzz that keeps NBA fans glued to their screens, hungry for every hint, leak, and insider tidbit. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.